Somewhere. There he is. We came across Billy probably close to 2 years ago now, is it? Not far off 2 years. First of all, we got a message saying this hard-looking fella keeps knocking for you with a manuscript he wants you to read. So straight away we said, we don't want to speak to him. Can you keep him away from us? And you'd think I'm making this up, but after about 2 or 3 times of coming, Nicole, who's sitting here, who works with us, eventually persuaded him to hand over this manuscript, because he wasn't going to hand it over until he put it in our hands. And it says something about Billy that he came back a couple of times and he kept going. And we're a small production company, but we get inundated with lots and lots of scripts that people want us to read. Some books, not many, but some. And they all get read at least 3 times. And I would say in the last 10 years, Billy's book had the best response from the readers that we use and employ. They kept saying, it's a great story, because we don't look for books. We certainly don't look for manuscripts. We'd rather read the finished book. And the way that story went down, Sol and I read it, loved it straight away. And we have since been developing it over the last 2 years, and we hope to make a film out of it. The script's written by another person here, Nick Saltrees, who's worked with Billy closely over the last couple of years, and they're working really well together, and we're really excited about this film. So when Billy told us that the book was going to come out in the UK, because it had been out abroad, we said we'll do everything to support it, and that's why I'm here. Now, Billy's a bit nervous, to be honest, but I haven't heard him speak. Anybody listen to him on Pete Price? He's good friends with Pete Price, and he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And we played that to the director of the film, who's French, and they were absolutely knocked out by it. And they came over to Liverpool in September and completely fell in love with him. It's like the French Billy Moore fan club. And
I've got it finished book before Liverpool Town Court.
Right, okay. You can do, yeah, next week maybe. All right. So we'll start. I think the way to start this is for Billy to read a passage, and I think for those who haven't read the book, it'll give you a sense of what the story is. Phil?
Thank you. Hello. Like Roy said, I'm really nervous and I feel like jumping out that window right now, you know what I mean? Or attacking someone.
He's got a book to read.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for turning up. I'm really overwhelmed. I'm really excited, but I'm nervous at the same time. And I'm going to read a chapter. It's the first chapter, and then we're going to have a Q&A. I feel nervous, so give me a break here, right? And I'm gonna do my best. The first chapter, it's called Rocky Road, and it's like the first time when I started writing, it was like I had to sit back and really reflect on the past. You know what I mean? It was.
That's gonna fall off.
It is actually.
Just hold it, don't be alright.
I don't know. This is going to America. Okay, so when I wrote this, I had to the freshest memories were really raw, so I could write that pretty easy. When I was banged up in Southeast Asia, in Bangkok, it was easy to kind of get the writing on paper, but to reflect and really go back in time was painful. So this is the first chapter. It's called Rocky Road, and if this goes, then I'm sorry. It's trying my best here. Okay. Standing on a prison roof is a great way to get noticed, and that's what I wanted, to get noticed, to be acknowledged, for someone to look at me and see me for who I was, a small frightened child who was never allowed to grow up. I was desperate and full of fear. I couldn't live life on life's terms. This was my only escape. I needed help, I just didn't know how to ask for it. To me, being on the roof was the answer. Sadly, for the time being, no one was about to ask me to tell them my life story. All they wanted was to get me and my 14 fellow inmates off the roof. HMP Liverpool was on lockdown, and 70 feet below us, a full complement of guards in riot gear was spread out and craning their necks to look up at us. Discontent had been bubbling all day. It was one of the hottest days of the year. The whispers went round, we're staying out. They can't make us go back into those sweat boxes. There was a buzz of excitement which mounted and spread from man to man like electricity. It was forbidden, it was mutiny. We were going to defy the system. At first, they closed the gates and left us in the yard and watched us from behind barbed wire and 7-foot high locked gates. They watched us the way they observed dangerous animals in the zoo. They said nothing. There were about 150 of us. The guards knew better than to try and take us on and aggravate an already explosive situation. They had all the time in the world. We took off our shirts and let the sun beat down on our pale prison skins. Big mistake. We wanted to get up on the roof. That was our objective. And to get there, we needed makeshift ropes. The word had spread quickly that something was going down. Got this in my head. Something was going down in the exercise yard. Dinner time had come and gone without the usual queue of hungry inmates shuffling along, metal trays in hand. What's going on? An inmate asked. What the hell's going on? Another shouted. As sitting in the yard came the reply from another group of inmates. Where? In the yard, man. The screws were flapping around, yelling, trying to get the others back into their cells and away from the situation. Back in their cells, the guys wanted to be in on the action. If they couldn't get up on the roof, at least they could help the men in the yard get there. Men started to pass sheets out of the cell windows. Brown sheets floated down into the yard and were tied together into ropes. All we needed was a climber. Actually, what we needed was Spider-Man, and we had him. His name was Rusty, a cat burglar with a stutter. He was a local lad who was going to try anything. He tied the sheets around his waist and got up onto the shoulders of the tallest man available. From there, he grabbed onto a drain pipe and, by getting his tiny feet into the smallest of crevices, he shimmied up the pipe. We watched breathless as Rusty hinged higher and higher. As we looked on, dirt and debris fell into our eyes and all around. He was getting there. Even the screws must have been impressed, because when Rusty made it on the roof and stood with his hands in the air like Rocky Balboa, the old prison erupted with shouts and whistles and yells of approval. That was Rusty's finest hour, no doubt. 3 guys successfully made it up on the roof, and then it was my turn. The last bit of climbing I remember doing was when I was 10 years old and thieved eggs from Bird's Nest. I could hear one of the landing shafts shout, "No chance, fat ass!" and a chorus of sniggers from the other screws. Fat ass! I'll show them. I scrambled up I scrambled up the sheets, helped by the men above who pulled me up as best they could. At the top, hearing the jubilation, I felt like a superstar, but the thrill was short-lived. I was getting what I wanted for sure. I was being noticed, but not in the way I wanted. Suddenly, I felt alone and scared. I knew it would have to come down sooner or later. And for a split second, I contemplated taking the quickest route. For that moment, I envisaged myself splattered all over the yard, my blood drying fast in the scorching heat, the detested screws having to rub away at my bits of me, which would be plastered all over the walls and tarmac. But that's not the kind of person I am. In fact, I was brought down 16 hours later in a cherry picker, suffering from sunstroke. I spent a night in the hospital wing, and then the next 7 months in solitary confinement. I got a few kicks and a few punches from the guards, nothing I was already used to. It was a bit of an anticlimax, really. So much for my big cry for help. It was much later on in my life that I learned the kind of really bad things that can happen to you in prison. I was 30 years old when this happened, but I'd been in and out of jail since I was 17. Dangerous driving, burglary, robbery, violence, drugs. Drugs, of course, that's where it all started. I was smoking weed with my mates from the age of 16. I graduated to smoking smack a year later, and my world changed. Smack made me vomit at first, but that feeling of being wrapped in cotton wool, protected and secure, was worth the discomfort. I couldn't get enough of it. As you may have guessed, security, protection and love were things sadly missing from my life. You've probably heard it all before. The alcoholic, violent dad, the valiant mother brutalised and broken down by caring for 6 children and having to deal with a violent husband. The endless poverty, the 70s council estates rigidly divided into ganglands, the toxic riots in the 80s. I could paint an endless dreary picture of my childhood, but one memory sums it up. It was my birthday. I was 12 years old. My mum had been saving for weeks to buy me some new clothes from a catalogue. I'd chosen them myself. Silver grey cords and a silver grey pattern top. Smart. I wore them with pride all day. It was my birthday, no one else's day, just mine. Not Father's Day or Mother's Day or Christmas Day or any other day. My day, my birthday, and I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm 12 today and I'm going to stay up until 7:30 with my mates instead of being home by 7. And that's what I did. When I got home, I expected my 5 younger siblings to be there to sing me happy birthday. I expected my mum to have a cake baked. I was stopped in my tracks by my dad. My father, Tony, 15 stone, 5'10", an ex-boxer, a heavy drinker. He was habitually unemployed, a social scrounger, a bad husband and a violent father. Where the hell have you been? What time do you call this? I told him, it's my birthday. Come here and I'll give you the damn birthday present, you ginger-headed bastard. Perhaps I should have run, but I froze instead. And the next thing I knew, his fist had landed squarely on my nose and blood was spurting all over my silver grey top and silver grey trousers. My mum was screaming, you evil bastard, leave him alone. My brothers and sisters sat at the jelly-laden table, eyes staring, chins wobbling, tears filling their eyes, paper party hats on their heads. My mum started to tear the clothes off me. They'll stain, she kept repeating. I stood there half naked, shivering in the kitchen while my dad shambled off into the living room to watch TV. It wasn't the first time I'd been beaten, and it wasn't the last, and I later discovered that heroin was a refuge, a warm place to curl up in, where no one could get to me, where I could have a real birthday whenever I wanted. No fear, no pain, perfect.
Absolutely brilliant. Well done, Billy. No nerves there at all. I think even in that one chapter, it sort of gives anyone who hasn't read the book, it gives them a real insight into the honesty and the humour, because that's the two things that really attracted us to the project and to the book, the honesty and the humour. When you were writing it, was it difficult opening up like you do in the book about your family, about your background?
Yeah, I mean, that chapter was kind of really painful. I mean, I remember writing it and sending it to my mum in a letter from a prison in Wandsworth, and she was really upset, and it was kind of it really brings up a lot of her feelings, and it was kind of like one of the most significant events that I could remember, where I was just looking for approval and looking for love and looking for attention, and it was getting it all in the wrong ways, and it reminded me of being on the roof, looking for attention, looking to be noticed, looking to be acknowledged, and doing it all in the wrong way and not knowing how to live really and to communicate with anyone else. So yeah, it was really painful to remember that stuff.
So like talking about your family as you do all the way through the book, when you got to prison and there wasn't much communication between you and your family, at what point did you recognise that what you were missing and how much? Because you talk later in the book how close you grew to your family again. While you were in prison, how much did that play on your mind, not being in contact with them?
I think when I was in the grip of addiction, it was kind of like it was what was important was drugs, and family came second, and I'd manipulate them, and it was about what they could bring to the table and not what I could bring to the table, and it was always like about me. And when I went away, and you remove me from society and put me in a shell. I'm left with myself, and I'm left with feelings, and I'm left with loss, and grieving my family, and it was kind of getting in contact, and it was that same old shame really. It's we've heard this all before, lad. It's just breaking our hearts. What are you going to stop? And I just did not know. You know what I mean? And I think that was where I was at with it really. I just wanted to be wanted. You know what I mean?
Quite a bit of the book in the opening chapters, as we just did there, is about that upbringing and about the choices you made, the wrong choices you made, the wrong decisions. When you got to the point where you thought you were going to leave this country, because obviously most of the book is set in Thailand, and that's what we're going to focus on talking about. What made you think going to Thailand was a good idea? Because it's not the you know, it's not.
I thought that, to be honest.
I think anyone who reads the book will think, what the F are you going to Thailand for, Billy? But if you can just explain, what did you see? What did you see that was out there? What appealed to you?
Actually, nothing really appealed to me. It was a friend who'd been there before, and it was a choice between the Himalayas and Thailand. And he was, he'd been to Thailand, he'd never been to the Himalayas, and he showed me this country. You know, it was cheap, it was tropical, it was great to be there. And the culture was amazing and stuff like that. And he talked about Muay Thai boxing, and it was like Lost Dreams Awaken. I thought I was Rocky Marshmallow. You know what I mean? I thought I'll get in the ring here with anyone. And I think he ended up in the ring with some Thai guy who was drinking whiskey, smoking like 20 ciggies a minute, and full of tattoos with no teeth and a broken nose. And I thought, I'm doing well, me. I don't smoke.
It's like Waldo, isn't it?
I don't drink, I don't smoke. And next episode, I get my ribs broken within the first round. So I think it was all that was out there, to be honest. There was a lot. There was a lot there.
When you first got to Thailand, the first part of it went really well, didn't it? You had a good lifestyle. Can you open up about how it was going and how you thought you were doing when you first got there, in the first year or two?
And I was just like a world-class cloud carrying pleasure seeker. I just landed in this place and everyone says, you're beautiful, you're great, I love you. And I thought, I don't get this on our council estate. You know what I mean? I thought, my God, they really do. But I believed that they believed that I was great, you know what I mean? So, me mate went, look, we're getting off. And I said, look, I'm staying. I'm not married, I've got no family to come back to. I'm going to adopt a new culture and learn a new language. He said, are you serious? He says, yeah, and I got a job as a teacher. I'm a Scouser and I bought a bachelor's degree on Cozan Road. Right, I had a shirt and a tie on and I went into this school and started trying to compromise my own identity and going, hello, yes, I'm really good at speaking English. And, I got the shock because all the kids were going around like Harry Enfield. They don't calm down. So that didn't last. And, I was in the gym and I got a job working for Sylvester Stallone as a stunt stand-in on Rambo 4, which was amazing. He was my hero. I kept calling him Rocky, and he kept chastising me and saying, yo man, it's a lie. So you'll always be Rocky to me, you know what I mean? And I hounded him for photographs, so he had him, back in the day it wasn't selfies, or he would have been selfies up, but I had a few pisses with him and, he was fascinated with me because he couldn't understand the word I said. He wanted subtitles with everything I said, so it was, I had a great time. I was involved in a lot of Muay Thai boxing, had a few competitions over there, and I was living, you know what I mean, but I was lost in it all as well. I was living a fantasy and not a life.
Can you talk about the people you grew close to over in Thailand, like Mama and Papa and the boxers that you were with? Because, it comes across that was a happy time of your life. It was, you were surrounding yourself with good people who were good for you, and talk about them.
Yeah, they're really wonderful people. I mean, I always wanted to be a part of something and to be accepted by someone, because I couldn't even accept who I was. These people didn't understand what I was saying and I didn't understand what they were saying, but we did. We knew each other, and it was, I was fighting for green curries and noodles, you know what I mean? I was getting in the ring and they were just going, he's off his cake, you know what I mean? And we grew, and this relationship developed and we couldn't communicate. It was just, I didn't know their names. He told me, and it was like Ching Tang Puaha. And I said, I can't pronounce that, I'm going to call you Mama, and I'm going to call you Papa, and that's how it was.
So they went cola?
No. So, I don't know, I've just been calling on that for years and he just responds to it, you know what I mean? He just look at me a little bit funny, just smile, so yeah, but it was great, and I met a few of the boxers over there who were wonderful characters, you know what I mean? They're really, really great people, so I enjoyed it.
So you had your bachelor's degree, Dr. Billy Moore, you were teaching English. You sort of play that down, but actually you do speak Thai, don't you? You speak Thai well. Was that before you went into prison, or did you learn it when you were in prison?
I learned that when I was in prison because I was getting all the wrong drugs. You know what I mean? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to learn Thai and ask for the right drugs because I don't want paracetamol, I want Valium. You know, I don't want Coco-Demol, I want Tramadol. You know what I mean? And I don't want this and I want that. And they were like, I had a blags, I was manipulating, I was really posh, speaking Thai. Yeah. So,
then again, I think you speak Thai, but that's only because you've told us. So, you know, you also told us there's someone called Mama and Papa. So, tell us about the how you ended up in prison. Tell us like those few days leading up to it and how chaotic your life was getting and how you ended up inside.
So I think like it was after 3 years of being like in recovery. I was abstinent from all moves and minds, also and chemicals, and you know that's all it was. It wasn't recovery. I wasn't getting honest with myself. I wasn't being humble with my own feelings, and I found myself retracing my steps back and going back in time. And I picked up a drug called Yabar, and it's translated. It's called crazy drug. You know, and it was methamphetamine, crystal meth, and China White. And you know, I was a big lad. I am now. I couldn't even fit into my suit. Honestly, God, I was going to put a suit on that I wore about 6 weeks ago, and my backside wouldn't get in. You know, I couldn't even shoehorn it in. But that's me being honest. But I was that skinny in the end. I could hang glides off a Dorito. You know what I mean? I looked like an anorexic panzer on crack, and I had a room full of weapons and no enemies, and it was just crazy. You know, and I don't know, I just thought it was untouchable. I thought I could kind of, the ties with police were corrupt, and I thought, you know, I can get away with paying a little fine here and a little fine there, and you know, and eventually I got arrested, and I was lucky that I'd only got arrested with handling a stolen phone and not what he had in the room. Going to the prison was frightening. I mean, it was shackled with 30 kilo chains to my ankles, and I was put in a cell with, you know, 70 ties, and I was sleeping next to a guy who died the night before, and he couldn't move him because it was a Thai holiday. And a fella with tits called Tiffany, who said, "I like your blue eye." And I was thinking, well, I hope you don't like the brown one, but you know, you can like the blue one. But please, not the brown one. And by the way, I've got a fella, he's in the shells down there. And I was frightened. I was acting hard and brave at the same time, and it took a lot of courage just to sleep that night. But yeah, you know, it was frightening. It was.
So you went in there. You've said yourself you felt like you're indestructible. How quickly did you realise it was on top, and how quickly did you realise how bad it was?
Once inside.
Yeah.
Once the drugs wore off, and reality hit me, and I looked around and thought, oh no way, you know, I'm stuck in a shell, you know, and there's an hole in the ground for a toilet, and I'm eating a bowl of rice once a day. You know, and the violence and the rapes and the murders that I'd witnessed, and I was subjected to a lot of violence myself and threats of violence, and I was one of them. They ended up like saying to me, "You need to join the boxing team. You're like the Oscar de la Hoya at this prison," because I couldn't understand them, and all I heard was venom, and I reacted. I never had any kind of response. It was a reaction, and I'd react to everything, and I was volatile, and I kept getting battered. You know what I mean? And the insanity of it was, I went back for more. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like 1-on-1, it was like 4, 5, 6, we'll just jump here. So I knew it was on top when he had all kinds of bruises and cuts in my eyes, and he said, look, you need to surrender.
So you were in 2 prisons, and you've been in prison before. Just talk us through like the difference and the shock of being in there, and sort of like the day-to-day stuff, because it's the minutiae that you describe in the book that's like really, you describe it so well. Just talk us through like the daily routine and how you, in those early days, how you managed to survive.
It's a bit difficult to try and kind of be descriptive on a microphone, and it was easier to write, that's why I found it better, but I'll give it a go. Excuse me. I think I'd never seen daylight, I'd never seen darkness, for 3 years. No, and some people might think you'd be in the dark, in a prison, it'd be dark and it'd be really doom and gloom, but it was bright. You know, the lights were on 24 hours a day. You were out early. You know, it was like the city of God. You'd go out and there was like corrugated little shops and jiggers and, you know, little people hiding here, little dens and gangs. And there was a gang called Samurais who were HIV infected prisoners who'd be injecting themselves with barrows made out of pens, you know, and they'd threaten you with HIV and give you a death sentence if you didn't pay these bills. And I was kind of, I had people waving condoms in front of me because I owed them money, and I felt really flattered initially. I thought, you're having a laugh, aren't you? You know what I mean? But then I realised it was frightening. I thought, well, yeah, you know, maybe they are serious. And, you know, and I remember going to these missionaries. I owed all kinds of money. I was just totally off my cake with it all. And, you know, and I begged them to, they said, do you believe in Jesus? I said, I'll believe in fairy tales, ghouls, goblins, anything. You should pay this bill. And they did. And, you know, things started to change because I was aware of, like, you know, if I was going to die, I wanted to be quick. I didn't want to have a long, painful death and have to subject my mother and my family to kind of what was going on, really.
So the people on the outside that you surrounded yourself with, Mama, Papa, and the boxing people there, tell us about the boxing inside the prison. How structured was it, and what kind of effect did it have on you when you started to take part? And how did you first get into it?
There was an officer called Pritchett, and he's in a story, and he was kind of really compassionate towards me. You know, he liked me for some reason, and he said to me, you know, get yourself involved in this fighting. He said, because, you know, you're not going to start meditating, are you, Billy? And I went, no. So get in the ring, and it took a long time to get involved with this boxing team because they were really, like, suspicious of me, and I ended up convincing them with a carton of cigarettes. I got in, and it was like an escape from the austere surroundings I was in. It was the only way out for me, and I thought to myself, I was one of them great contenders. You know, I was going for the title, and I thought to myself, you know what? If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out fighting. You know what I mean? So they got me involved in the boxing matches that they had, and it was like a novelty. It was the only white foreigner in there, and it was they put on a show and everything. You know what I mean? With this guy called Pon, and he was one of the most, like, ferocious fighters I'd ever come across. I had about 3 weeks training, and it was a tough competition, but I got a massive respect after that, really. They kind of fed me, they supported me, and I found it collectively as a group. It was a little community, it was like a team. Well, we're going to help you, we're going to support you, you're going to be okay. We're going to put you in our shell, and you're going to be fine, as long as you don't flip, like the way you do. You know what I mean? Which didn't last long, because I was a flipper, you know what I mean? In so many words, kept losing the plot. And, you know, that's down to me.
Tell us about the other support you had in the prisoners abroad. What was initially, was there any help, and did you accept it? And then eventually, what kind of support was there that you actually turned to?
So I was living on like rotten fish and sticky rice and chicken head soup for many months initially, and then all of a sudden I was thinking it was 2,000 baht started going into my account, and I wondered where it come from. And then I was getting protein tablets and vitamins, and I was surprised, and I questioned the staff who didn't know, and I questioned the missionaries who eventually said, look, there's an organisation in the UK that only supplies this stuff to prisoners abroad from the UK, and that kind of helped me massively, because without that, you know, I would have struggled massively, because it helped buy food, because you know, you couldn't buy food. You know, if you had no money, you were living on what they had to offer, which was not enough to kind of suffice. So yeah, it was, you know, these wonderful people who were in London, and you know, I couldn't do enough for, really. You know, and I've spent a bit of time with them, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity of doing something back for them as well. It's all giving, you know what I mean? I don't want to take all the time. That's all I ever did. It's all giving a bit of myself to someone else now.
One of the great descriptions and stories you've told us about the cell you were in with, I think, the maddest cell you were in. Do you want to tell that story? Because that's...
This is just a brief. I will tell you, this is a brief one, but it was like it's Scouse humour. It's like it's wit. You know what I mean? It's like we're survivors. I don't care where you put us, you'll find a Scouser. And I found one in the Bangkok Hilton. You know what I mean? Trust me. You know, and we're everywhere. But they put me in the shell, and I was like, I stopped using drugs, and you know, I stopped smoking, and I said, look, I need to get out of this shell. You know, these are all using crystal meth, and he put me in this shell, which was supposed to be okay. Everyone was abstinent from moods and minds altering chemicals. No one smoked, but they were all nuts. It was rehab. But there was an Indian guy in there called Sunil Kumar. He was a Hindu. There was Solomon Kurashia, he was a Christian, and then you've got Bonzo, he was a Muslim, and then you've got these atheists, and it was just crazy. It was just a crazy show, you know what I mean? There was a lot of fighting, there was a lot of violence, there was a lot of praying to the wrong things. There was a guy who used to pray to a dog every morning, and you had the guy praying to Jesus next to me, and then you had the Muslim guy praying to Allah. And you know, one morning I woke up and I seen Chanel, and he said to me, I'm drawing this picture, and he's drawn a picture of this woman's genitals, and he's put her on the wall, and he's prostrated in front of it, and he's praying to it, and I'm going, what are you doing? He said, I pray to the pussy god, my friend. I'm wanting to pray to this pussy god. This is bringing me to prison, and I'm thinking. And then he's saying to me, look, I'll tell you what, mate. He jumped up and started doing this jig. I said, look, I know you're lonely. I'll get you a girlfriend. And I went, what do you mean? He said, there's a pig farm down the road. He said, I know a blue shirt, cost you 500 baht, and on Valentine's Day we'll go down. I was thinking, this is just mental. There's a lot of experiences like that. I mean, I don't really want to go too deep, but it was.
How did you cope with this? Do you think these are madder than I am? How do you keep your sanity in that kind of? I mean, how long were you in that cell for?
I was 6 months. I kept me alive really. I just laughed at the humour. You know what I mean? I've never laughed so much. Well, oh, this is too much. You know what I mean? You could make like a series on this one cell. You know what I mean? They were jumping up. It was like the OK Kerala pistols that's on, and you know there was a couple of Africans. And if anyone knows any Africans, they argue with each other but never fight. I tell you now, my brother, I will kill you. I will beat you now. That's all it was all night long. I will beat you. You thought I beat you now. And I was thinking, well, why doesn't he beat him? I will smash the TV over your head if you do not shut up. You are crazy, man. And that's all night. And then you'd have the other people butting, can you please be quiet? And I was like lying there. You can compare this, and you know, and the Hindu going, I'm wanting to get out of this bloody cell. It's crazy, you bloody crazy. So it was like I had to just take the mickey out of the lot of them, know what I mean? And I had an argument with this African over water. Because I said, you know, we need some water. He said, it's not water, it's water. I said, no, I'm from Liverpool, England, it's water. He said, I tell you now, I've been to England once and it's called water. You're not on the water. And we argued for 3 days about it. I mean, at the end of the day, and he was convinced. He said, I had an extra 3 I once in water. He said, I listened to a culture club, and you know, he hadn't been out of prison since musical youth, you know what I mean? So, you know, he'd been in there for 20 years, so it was... Well, I started telling where I was from. So, yeah, maybe there's water. But yeah, it was, you know, stuff like that. I mean, there was humour, and there was a lot of barbaric stuff as well, so you kind of blended together.
So the other British prisoners, did you like gravitate towards them? Because obviously in the madness of that cell, when you were moved to other cells, did you find yourself congregating with them, or were you sticking with the boxers?
I'd never really congregated with the British because they were all selfish swats, to be honest, you know what I mean? And it just reminded me myself, and you know, it's just like I'd just congregate with Taj and the boxers because they were onto me, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were onto me. I was bang on. And I was in that much debt. I'll share this because I felt a little bit nervous about sharing this there. I was in that much debt that I paid my bills, and I was walking around and I was hungry, and I was really starving, you know what I mean? I'm talking like, let's talk starving. No, let's not say hungry. I was. Living off feet, you know what I mean? And toes, and you know, off chickens. It was just horrible. And these Muslims were eating this wonderful food, and they invited me along one day, and I sat there, and I said, I'll be there tomorrow for some more grafting, you know what I mean? I'm like, there's a graft on here. And he went, oh no, only Muslims come here. I was alright, sounds, yeah, laughing. So the next day I turns up with a sarong, a skull cap, and called myself Yusuf Muhammad. And he didn't bat an eyelid, but what he did do, slippery, honest to God, they moved me into their cell for 6 months and woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning to pray. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, I really want to do this, you know what I mean? But it was, what I found is like they were really nice people, and I ask questions, mate. I want to know, and I want answers. What's all this about bombing people and this and that and the other? And what they said, look, you know, we're peaceful people. What you hear and what you see, it's not what happens. And it made me realise, and I seen it with a different, I had a different outlook on it. So yeah, it was amazing, you know what I mean? They were really lovely people and they supported me, and again, it was like a family and a community, you know what I mean? And he never judged me.
Do you want to talk about towards the end of your time and in the prison hospital and the chance to escape? Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, before I'd been arrested, I'd come off a motorbike in a country called Laos, and I'd crushed me ribs and punctured me lung. I was rushed to this hospital in a wheelbarrow that was 5 miles away, and I was in a bad way. So after the arrest, the British Embassy got me seen to, and I needed surgery. So I'd had a motorcycle handle that went right through my stomach, and I'd had internal injuries that had wrapped my intestines down my stomach and needed to operate on immediately. But whilst I was in hospital, he had these shackles on that weighed 30 kilos. It was on the 7th floor, and I remember it well. And the guards used to go away because they was there for about 2 weeks, and they'd go away and they'd sit off in this room and they'd come back 12 hours later, and the opportunity. All I wanted was a cigarette. That was all I wanted. And he wouldn't give me one, so I ended up going down this exit down these stairs and opening this door, and I was out in the big wide world. And you know what, instead of like getting off, I went to the chemist and bought 100 tramadol. You know what I mean? This is in broad daylight. I went there and I bought 100 tramadol and walked back. And then I thought, well, no one saw me, you know what I mean? No one saw me. So what I did do was, in the night, I decided that was it. I'm not going back. I'm going to get off. You know, and I was under the influence of about 50 of these tramadol by that time. Like, you know what I mean? I was the escapist. You know what I mean? I had plans. I was going to rob a motorbike, but then I thought, I'm going to get on a motorbike with change. I'll rob a car. You know what I mean? So I walked in the streets for about 3 hours. Early hours in the morning with the sarong and these shackles, and I just thought, this is useless. I'll just get grassed up the minute I get seen. I'll get battered, I'll get shot, or I'll get a 25 on top of the 3 that I'm only doing, you know what I mean? So, like, you know, I embarked on a journey back, and you know, it is who I am today, to be honest.
Do you think that moment changed you, changed your life, changed everything? And when did you realise that was so pivotal?
Well, I was standing there, it was monsoon season, and the rain was like cascading all over me. You know, it was just pouring. And I looked around and I thought, you know what, it's over. You know, it's over. I've got to surrender and let go and just accept that this is where I'm at. And it's about change, really. It was about like redemption and trying to discover myself. Because I'd been lost for years. I travelled all around the world, looked at myself, and I found myself when I come home. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was a pivotal moment. It was enough. It was that old saying that we hear, sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know what I mean?
So just talk us briefly through leaving Thailand. What went into play to get you out of Thailand, and then we'll talk a little bit about being in prison in Britain and what things changed there. So how come you came to get repatriated?
I think there was an opportunity to get repatriated on compassionate leave because of the injuries, and I'd pleaded with the embassy, and they wrote to the governments and they decided that it was okay to send me back. So the time came, and it was March the 30th, I remember it well, it was 2010. Bangkok was on fire. Buildings were burning, there was a red and yellow party going off, and there was a lot of political unrest. British Airways had cancelled that night, the flight that I was on, so I was in reception waiting to go to the UK, and they said, look, your flight's being cancelled, you're going to have to go back to prison. And I was heartbroken, and I thought, this is it, they're never going to let me go. They promised me the next day, you'll go, we'll let you go, and the next day, you know, arrived, and it happened, and I was on the plane, and I went back to the UK. And it was freezing. It was freezing. I was just wrapped around the pipes in Wandsworth for about 3 weeks because it was that cold. But what I noticed is, I couldn't believe all the cockneys. Oh, fucking chickens, you're freezing. Chips. I thought, you know what, you ungrateful. Honest to God, I've been eating dead chickens' heads, you know what I mean? And rotten fish, and you're moaning about a piece of chicken being cold and chips. But I knew then it was just as bad as it was for them there, you know what I mean? So, you know, it was a different experience. And it was like a hotel in comparison to where it'd been, you know. And I wasn't sleeping on a hard concrete floor, you know, afraid that someone's going to pull my bills down and say, "I like your brown eye." So I was grateful for that one. But yeah.
Talk us through how you decided to write the book and who encouraged you to write.
Sorry, just tickled you. Sorry, compose yourself. I couldn't identify with anyone. I couldn't, like, you know, when I'm sitting in this prison and I couldn't say, look, I've been here, I've done this, and, you know, and I felt really lost and lonely with it all. So I put it to paper, and I grabbed this education teacher who was walking past, and I said, look, have a little look at this, what do you think of it? It was only an A4 piece of paper with a few words on it, and she went, oh my God, that is amazing, that is very descriptive. And encouraged me to write more, and I thought, she's just stroking my ego, and you know what I mean? And she said, I'll be back with a bit more paper, right? So it did, and as I learned, as I was reading, it was like therapeutic. I was writing and I was reading it to myself, and writing and reading it to myself, and then I had the courage to read it to someone else, and they were amazed by it, and I thought, maybe there's something in this, you know what I mean? And then I come up with a title, because I remember every morning before dawn, I'd hear prayers in this prison, you know, and then you'd go out and you'd be unleashed into the gates of hell. I mean, it was violence from the minute go, but I couldn't understand that why people were praying in the morning. It was surreal, and I thought that was a brilliant title, A Prayer Before Dawn, and it's just, I wrote to a few publishers, you know, and my publisher's here, John, he's brilliant, he's done me proud, like, and, you know, I got it published in Southeast Asia initially by a guy called Eric Sharon from America. And he encouraged me to get a publisher in the UK because he only had the rights for a certain country. You know, and I did, and I wrote to everyone, and I kept turning up and looking at tours and just saying, look, I've got this, and, you know, I'm not setting for failure, you know what I mean? You know, I'm passionate about my life, and I'm passionate about, like, getting up and being present and doing things. I'm not going to sit down and just accept things. I mean, I'm going to fight, and that's what I believe I am. I believe I've got something inside me which is always fought. You know, it's fought against addiction, it's fought against the prison system, and I fought against myself, above all, you know what I mean? And I believe the biggest fight I ever fought was with how I felt, and being honest and going, you know what, I'm frightened, I'm scared, I might look like a tough customer, I might have half an ear and a few scars here and there, but you know what, in reality, I'm flawed and I'm hurt. So it took a lot of courage to do that, and when I wrote, I thought, I'm going to take away all the ego, because I've read these books where they're like, I don't know, who do you think they are? It's Chuck Norris on stage, you know what I mean? Oh, I walked in this prison, I just battered him, and it was just great, mate, you know what I mean? Never felt nothing. And I thought, you're having a laugh, aren't you? Hey, well, it's not like that, you know, like a Bruce Lee movie where if you get us over the head with a chair, you're knocked out. You know what I mean? Trust me, it's happened. I was on the floor. I didn't snap on my head and then I done him in. And, you know, I saw stars. And I thought, no, I'm going to write about, like, how real it is and be authentic with it. I'm going to be honest and say, look, I did try and become a Muslim, and I did have a little skirt on and a skull cap, and my nickname was Yusuf Muhammad. I'm going to be honest about that stuff. I'm going to be honest about fellas fancying me and thinking, okay, it's not really fellas. But when he bent over, I thought, maybe it is a woman. Until, you know, it got unmanageable and one of his things popped out. I thought, sorry. You know, it just blew me fantasy, you know what I mean? But, you know, it was... Briefly, it was a fantasy, you know what I mean? But yeah.
I can't believe you said you were nervous, Billy. The Billy Show. Just before, what we're going to do now is, just before you read another chapter and then open it up for questions, was the stuff, two questions, one which I asked earlier, just expand on how difficult it was to tell some of the personal stuff, but also, what did you leave out? Was the stuff in there, I mean, because some of the stuff in this book, when people read it, some of it's unbelievable, but, you know, we know it's true. What did you leave out, and is there anything that you thought was either too far, or too unbelievable, or too personal? How much did you leave out?
I left out where, and a lot of people ask this question, what did you do with the drugs? It's always that question, and I thought, like, less is more, and it leaves you, you know, your imagination wide open. It probably is a lot of stories, and I'm starting to write another book. I'm a little bit slow at writing. It's like, when you put me in a shell for 8 months and I've got nothing to do with a pen and the pads I'm going to write. I mean, outside life takes over and work takes over and there's a balance, but there's going to be more to that really, I believe, because there was a lot that was left out and there is more that I could put into it, yeah.
Okay, so read the second chapter and then we'll ask for questions. I'm sure there'll be lots of questions.
I'm going to say this second chapter, there's a guy in here called Rene. Can you put your hands up?
Hello, Craig.
There he is. Yeah, this is one of my long-term friends who he was in recovery with me. So, and he's in it.
Just got that voice in a Cockney accent as well.
Oh no. Here we go. This chapter's called Rehab. Chapter 2. It had been a long and uncomfortable journey from the prison. I was escorted to the drug rehabilitation centre by Paul, a probation officer, a good man who wanted to see me recover from my drug addiction. We arrived at the rehab centre, a beautiful mock-Tudor mansion in Somerset. The house itself was surrounded by beautiful green hills. It was summer, the smell of freshly cut grass was in the air, and I could see a lily pond and frogs croaking. The scenery was amazing. I got out the car, stretching, and looked up at the clear blue sky. I took a deep breath. I was free. No more long, lonely hours in solitary confinement. It was time for Paul to leave. We said our goodbyes and he wished me good luck. I made my way to the main entrance, not sure what to expect once inside, but I knew I wanted to stop taking drugs. However, my idea of being drug-free was to stop using Class A drugs, the killers, heroin and cocaine. Heroin and crack cocaine. They were my problem, not the softer drugs like alcohol, cannabis and your pharmaceuticals. I could control my use of them, couldn't I? A group of what I can only describe as junkies welcomed me at the main reception. One guy in particular headed towards me with a rough-looking character with a couple of front teeth missing and a huge smile on his face. He had his hands held out wide and in a Cockney accent said, "Oh, my bruv, I'm Rene." Instead of shaking my hand, he attempted to give me a hug. "Back off, you faggot," I said through clenched teeth. "Don't touch me." "Sweet bruv, it's okay, it's what we do here, just showing a bit of love," he said defensively. "I don't want any faggot love," I growled. Love didn't exist in my world. Walking away from the group, I sat down in one of the cheap plastic chairs in the waiting room. A small balding guy wearing glasses came over to where I was seated and introduced himself as Mark. He told me he would be my counsellor. He took me up some stairs and showed me a huge room which had 3 single beds inside. Nobody else would be sharing the room with me, but Mark told me that could change. He left me to settle in. I moved over to a bed, lay back on it and closed my eyes. Tired and exhausted, I fell asleep quickly. The following day, Mark called me to his office for a one-to-one counselling session. He sat there with a thoughtful look on his face, not the way counsellors do. I began to feel uncomfortable. He held eye contact and then started firing like questions at me. Why was I here? What did I expect from treatment? I answered. He asked me how I was feeling. This confused me, because I didn't know how I felt. He waited patiently for me to answer. Okay, I guess, I responded. Okay is not a feeling, he said. I'm fine, I said confidently. You don't do fine, fucked up, insecure, neurotic and emotional. He rattles off. I want a feeling from you, William. This guy's really nuts, I thought to myself, trying to control my rage. Okay, how about horny? That's a feeling, right? I asked Mark. Yeah, that's a feeling. Okay, I saw horny, love you a long time. I was remembering a line from the movie Full Metal Jacket and laughing at my own humour. Mark wasn't amused and asked me if I thought this was all a game and did I want to recover. Of course I wanted to recover. I just didn't understand what my feelings had to do with it. I was soon going to find out. I left Mark's office and bumped into Rene, the hugger. Why, bruv, no more feelings, I ignored him. I wasn't here to make friends. I was a loner and felt comfortable that way. Group therapy is this way, bruv, said Rene, pointing to a huge oak door at the far end of the corridor. You're in my group, it's paramount you attend. Rules, you understand. I reluctantly followed Rene into the main hall. It was massive inside with high ceilings and an old chandelier hanging up in the centre of the room. The windows were long and wide and a bright light shone through the dirty coloured net curtains. The room smelled old and musty, so one of the windows to let some fresh air. There were 8 chairs in the centre of the room placed in a circular formation. We seemed to be the only ones there. Group shot 9:15, bruv, drawled Rennie, the hugger. I had 15 minutes to kill before the group session started. The chairs were comfy. I closed my eyes and waited. A bell sounded that signalled everyone to the group. Soon, people started wandering into the room and filling the seats. I opened my eyes to see who my groupies were. Opposite me was a heavily pregnant woman, young, with beautiful long blonde hair that seemed to shine in the sunlight. She had a pretty face with a spot of golden brown freckles on both cheeks. "Hi, my name's Suzanne," she said, introducing herself. Her accent was from the West Midlands somewhere. I smiled back and nodded. More people entered and took up the rest of the seats. Dave Mack introduced himself as one of the head councillors. He looked like a flash bastard with his designer clothes and his goatee. He had previously been an addict but had been clean for 15 years. He was in his 40s but aimed to look younger with his young ghetto clothes. I was new to the group. Dave asked me to share a little about myself. This was normal, he assured me. I told myself I looked better than the rest of the group. I spent a couple of years in prison, hitting the gym hard and eating porridge. I didn't look like your typical junkie, so I lied. I told the other members of the group I was here because I snorted a bit too much cocaine. It sounded better than saying I was a smackhead or a dirty flea-bitten crack fiend. "So you're just a sniffer then, pal?" a Scottish guy asked me. "By the way, my name's Alex. I'm an alcoholic." Dave asked me if taking cocaine was my only problem. "Yeah," I answered, not believing my own lie. He continued to drill me, asking questions such as whether I could control my drug use and would I be prepared to live a drug-free life. It was impossible to imagine, I told him. I suppose just smoking a cannabis would be okay. Wrong. He said for me to live a normal, become a productive member of society, I would have to stop. Everything had to stop. I thought maybe he was overacting, so I played the game and went along with what he said. I could see Rennie looking at me with an intense expression on his face. "What are you looking at, Puff?" I said. "I ain't no Puff, Buff." "What's your problem?" Dave asked me why I called Rennie a Puff, so I told him about the hug and stuff, and how he wanted to feel me up. Everybody laughed, making me feel angry. "How long have you been here now?" 1, 2 days. "Rennie's not a Puff, gay or homosexual." "So would you let me give you a hug, Billy?" said Suzanne. "Well, yeah." "Would a hug suggest I want to have sex with you?" "I'm not sure, would you?" I said, hoping yes would be the answer. "We just want to show you that we care," said Rennie. "What are you afraid of?" asked Dave. "I was afraid of being honest, showing people the real me. I avoided feelings. I came from a place where you didn't show or express how you felt. Only the weak were vulnerable. I didn't feel comfortable about being confronted with such personal questions. What do you fear?" "Nothing," I told Dave. "Can we move on? I'm getting bored." Dave addressed the group, wanting a feelings check before we left. "How do you feel, Alex?" "I feel angry." Suzanne was feeling fat but content. Rennie was relieved. Other members of the group gave different feelings. "Oh, cool. Okay, Billy, how do you feel?" "I feel okay." Everybody said in union, "We don't do okay." What did they want to hear? Crazy nut jobs. That I was scared. That I wanted to scream, to cry, to show people I was human. That I was hiding behind a mask. These were feelings I couldn't express. "We need a feeling," Dave said. Sorry. "To hell with your feelings, Dave." "You're feeling angry, pal," said Alex. This was true. I could see therapy was going to be tough. Dave called an end to the session. I left the room and went for a smoke to help me calm down. During the day, when there was no group or counselling sessions going on, I would wander around the grounds of the treatment centre and spend hours looking at the amazing scenery. I had never been to the countryside before. I couldn't even recall a time when I'd left my own city, except maybe once, as a child, when my parents had taken us all to Butlins holiday camp in Wales. It was so long ago I couldn't even remember what the place was like. I sat on a bench and lit up a cigarette. I'd had enough of smoking, but like everything else, I thought it was impossible to stop. Maybe I never would. "Hello, have you got a fag?" It was one of the female residents, a small, plain-looking girl in her early 30s, I guessed. I passed her one and gave her a light. She smiled, thanked me and sat down on a bench. She told me her name was Tracy. She'd been here almost 3 months now and had only a couple of weeks left and was a trusted member of the house. "I get to go to the beach in Weston-super-Mare tomorrow," she said excitedly. "Fantastic," I replied sarcastically. However, she was so wrapped up in her own thoughts that she didn't seem to notice. "We get to go shopping. Maybe I can buy you something if you want. Maybe a stick of rock or some candy. Would you like that?" How about you buy me a bottle of brandy instead?" Oh no, it's not allowed, you get dismissed. Well, if no one knows, we could drink it together by the lily pond. What's you say? I could see that she was thinking about it. I smiled and gave her an own wink. The sort that said, maybe we could have more than just a drink. Well, just you and me, and no one will know. Of course, mum's the word. Okay, meet me at the lily pond tomorrow at 7 p.m. I'll bring the brandy. Don't worry, I'll be there, I said quietly at her retreating back. The following day dragged, I had my doubts about Tracy buying the alcohol. Maybe she would get scared, or even worse, grass me up. I knew others were using drugs in the rehab centre, so I wasn't alone. I made my way down to the lily pond before 7 p.m. and waited on one of the benches, chain smoking while looking at the huge green lilies floating on the water.
Alright, we're going to stop there, so a bit of a cliffhanger going on there. Does she bring the brandy? Questions now. So you'll have to buy the book because you want to know the end of the question. And I think the first question's got to go to him.
It's only because it'll quote me head, right? There's a book that's been out for years about the Bangkok Hilton called The Damage Done.
Warren Fellows.
Now, yeah, I forgot the author, but the question I'm asking is it, would you say it's got a lot of truth to it?
Yeah.
So hang on, we're at a book reading for this book and you're asking a question about another book about Bangkok. You're having a laugh. Go on, do you want to... Go ahead, Bill, go on.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in it.
He's on to what I'm on about.
Yeah, there's a book, and it's called, I'm going to promote it now. It's called The Damage Done by Warren Fellows.
Any questions about this book?
Would you change anything that's happened in your life that's in the book? Would you change, like, go back and change it?
No. I believe I had to experience what I experienced to be the man I am today.
Yeah, one at the back there. Sorry, you'll have to shout because the mic's won't stretch.
Do you have any desires about going back and seeing Maverick and Papa?
Yeah, the director John Stefan went over recently and took some pictures and met up with these two and explained what I was doing back in the UK, and it was really emotional because they told them that they'd miss me and, you know, we'd love to see him again. So yeah, I do have a strong desire to go back.
A question? Yeah, sorry, there's another one.
Do you go into like colleges or places to try and help people not do what you've done?
No, but if they buy the book, hopefully people who buy it and read it will, you know, it'll benefit. My experience will benefit others, really. You know what I mean? And the opportunity just to help people on a daily basis is what I do anyway.
I can understand why you don't want to talk more about that, but you do help a lot of people and you do a lot of work in that line.
Yeah.
Is that something that you wish you had, and do you think, how helpful do you think you can be to people?
Yeah, I believe. See, I never had any kind of like rehabilitation or support, because it was back in the day. It was kind of like, we'll lock you in a shell and we'll give it a DF and a Zoplicone and you get on with it, you know, and you get out and you fight for your life again. So yeah, it's nice to actually have experienced addiction, come out the other side, gone through a lot of kind of horrific prison sentences, and be here today, present, go, do you know what, there's a way out, I can help you, you know, and if you need it, you've got to meet me halfway. I'm not going to babysit you, but yeah, it's about that, yeah.
Any more questions? Yeah, one there and then one there.
I like that. Well done. Buzzy. Bit of doubt now though. He talks about you speaking Thai. Who was that? No, funny enough, I remember, I don't know, we was coming on the train into Liverpool from somewhere. I don't know where we've been.
Yeah.
And other times I've seen you talking Thai. And then you'd say, oh, the Chinese, you don't understand. The good Taiwan then one. But I do remember one time when I was pulling into land, because you know, he literally does just start talking to him inside. And one of them did turn around and start talking back, and then he was off, and he was in on each other. So I really think he can talk Thai. Now I'm a little bit wounded.
Of course I can, poo pass a tie day, huh?
Do you think that'll fade with time though? Because my mate's just done 3 years in the Spanish jail, and I don't reckon he'll be able to speak fluent Spanish in 10 years. Unless he goes back to the Spanish jail.
If he wanted the drugs I wanted, he'd be speaking Spanish, trust me. So,
Question over there.
It's all alright up to now, Bill. You know when you start off with on the roof at Walton?
Yeah,
What year was that?
that was in 2003.
2003?
Yeah.
I was driving sweat boxes and I was just wondering if you one of mine.
Probably was.
I remember you peeing in the cell.
I think we've got time for a few more. Any more questions?
If you could choose, who would you have playing it in a movie?
Good question.
Yeah, well, we've had, am I allowed to say?
Yeah, yes.
We've already, we went through a few people. One was Tom Hardy, and the other one is Charlie Hunnam, who's kind of like, he's the favourite. He's the guy, he plays Jackson, Sons of Anarchy. He's,
The Irish lad.
he's read the script and he's pretty impressed with it and he's up for it. So when he gets the time, which is hopefully the middle of next year, innit? He's going to be playing that role, hopefully. He's in contact with the director. So yeah, I've never even heard of him, but when... Yeah. I don't know. He's going to have to put on a bit of weight, because he won't get into my shoes.
Last question. Anyone for the last question, lad?
Are you going to write more novels and pursue more films? Are you going to write some more scripts of films and some as a continuation for the book? Are you going to stay in this world, or are you going to, what are you going to do with your life now?
I'm just going to be who I am, really. I think I just want to live in the world. I don't want to own it. I kind of like enjoying what I do. And I'd like to write, and when I get the chance I will, and if someone likes it and you want to take it further, then that's fair enough. I don't qualify myself as a great author or someone who's respected in that way. However, I believe I'm authentic and I'm real and I'm descriptive. And I think, as the last question, I think as a personality, it's not a personality. As a person, it's kind of like I can adapt. You know what I mean? I can be creative. I can disguise myself, I can play the game and I can play a role. So my mum always used to say to me, you can black the knickers off and on. You know what I mean? You should be in movies. And I was only 10, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think it's just like who I am to be.
Guys, okay, thanks very much. Thanks for coming. Thanks for Billy. Good luck with the book, Billy.